have to read. There's so much literature out there. That's how you develop your ideas. You read something, you think about it, but you get so immersed into the literature that you're just able to see, wow, this is a hole in the field that needs to be filled, or this is something I thought was a hole, but actually there's a whole body of literature out there that speaks to the subject that I'm interested in.
I knew already about myself, but I found it very easy to get lost in the scientific literature. There's so much of it, and PubMed is like a rabbit hole if you let yourself be pulled into it. What I found helpful was to write questions for myself, like before diving into the literature, write a set of questions for myself and then try to answer those questions in a paragraph or so. And what that enabled me to do was A, keep on track a bit, and B, it served as a useful resource later on when I was coming back to start writing up a paper or give a presentation, because it can be easy to forget how much you've learned over a year or over your PhD, and remembering the things that you were confused by when you initially encountered a topic is useful for helping to frame that clearly for other people who haven't done the work that you've done.
A lot of models in biology are based on cartoons. And so, really dig into those cartoons, like force yourself to draw your own, right? So that you can learn which pieces you don't actually have good justification for, right? So like really simple stuff like, is there really an arrow from this thing to this other thing? What does the arrow actually mean, right? Is it a physical contact? Is it indirect?
It's extremely important to talk to faculty when you're building your thesis project, because firstly, they have a kind of historical perspective on the field that no reading of papers could ever give you. Secondly, they have a much better perspective on how long things are likely to take, how successful they are likely to be. And thirdly, I think people frequently feel that they can't go and ask for help or talk to a faculty member until they have something complete to show them that's really good, and that prevents you from seeking feedback at the times when you need it most.
Sometimes we clamor up and we're afraid to talk about our science, especially with people who have like higher stature than us. For me, I was really nervous to talk to some of the deans, even though they have their own labs and they love sitting back and talking about science. But when you talk to other faculty about your project, it gives you a chance to talk about your science, but also gives you a chance to pick their brains. They've been in the fields for a very long time. They may have experience with a difficult subject that you have little knowledge about, or they can help you broaden your ideas or open up a new perspective to you. For me, when I talk to other scientists in my field, sometimes they drop names of scientists that I've never read about but probably should have read about. So I go back, I read their papers, and that opens up the literature to me in a way that I would probably not have stumbled upon a paper.
I think it's really important to remember that you do have really something valuable to offer as somebody with a fresh perspective on the problem. Your seemingly naive questions can cause people to rethink their assumptions. Your enthusiasm as a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed young graduate student can help rekindle that spark that people felt earlier on in their career. And people are just interested and excited to talk to you about things that they feel passionate about. And so it's important not to underestimate what you have to give and just to go talk.
I always find actually talking to an artist trying to represent your work can be a really illuminating way, or a scientist who just doesn't know what you work on at all can be a perfect way of identifying things that you just forgot were assumptions in the field. Some exercise in which you're trying to explain something to someone else forces you to reckon with your own ignorance and the field's ignorance in a really profound way. And you might realize that there's a project in there.